Let's quickly cut across. General Deepak Kapoor, former Chief of the Army Staff and accomplished gunner officer himself, joins me on this broadcast. General, welcome. As we prepare to celebrate 26 years of India's spectacular victory over Pakistan in Kargil and the role of the artillery in winning that war and the role of artillery during the recent Operation Sindoor, your assessment of artillery's modernization drive, sir?
The artillery played a tremendous role not only during Kargil, but even the recently concluded Op Sindoor, which is of course still continuing. But even during Op Sindoor, they had a tremendous role to play and did a tremendous job in striking at targets that were desired by the defense forces and the country, and therefore they stuck at places where they could produce decisive results. From all those perspectives, I think artillery has a tremendous role to perform, and they are doing an excellent job as far as the country is concerned.
And General, what do you make of the pace of procurement? There were many questions that were raised about that Bofors jinx. Despite performing so well in Kargil, India's acquisition drive was impacted. The ambitious Field Artillery Rationalization Plan 1999, reports seem to indicate barely 8 to 10% of the 3,000 odd guns that had to be acquired have been acquired.
You're right. You're right, Gaurav. Thanks to the 1986 Bofors perspective, a whole lot of stoppages as far as modernization of the artillery took place for a long period of time. As a result, we had to therefore depend upon imports, costly ones at that. For example, the ultralight howitzers, which the process or acquisition for which was started during my time, and we acquired 7 regiments. Likewise, we had to go for K9 Vajra, South Korean guns for the artillery, again to make sure that we remain modernized, we remain relevant, and are able to perform our tasks properly. And of course, there was the larger requirement of having towed guns revolutionized and made more modern for fighting the future wars. And that is how, from 2010-11 onwards, a lot of efforts have been made to make sure that we get on the route of self-sufficiency in terms of artillery, and that's how a lot of efforts which are today in the process of starting to bear the fruit, Gaurav.
And are we to strictly go the Atmanirbhar Bharat route? There are some reports that seem to indicate that at least a section in the armed forces believe to make up for the numbers, India may have to look at some foreign howitzer pieces. Your take on this, sir?
No, in fact, the point is that we need to acquire these guns, and I am given to understand an order for atags, that is advanced towed artillery gun systems, for about 307 guns has already been placed, and it has come out in the media that that order is worth about 6,900 crores, which is going to be supplied over the next 3-4 years to the Indian Army. So if that route is open and if we are going up as per the time schedule which has been laid down, I have no doubt gradually we will be able to have a profile of the artillery which is absolutely suitable for the Indian Army and the Indian Defence Forces to fight future encounters and battles.
What more needs to be done, General, to ensure that whether it's the end user, the private sector, DRDO, everyone's on the same page to ensure quality and numbers that are required are available, given the situation on both our borders?
The point is we are already in the process of now going ahead with some acquisition of certain other guns like Dhanush. We are also going ahead with atags, for which the supply will start in an year and a half's time. Now, whenever you have to introduce guns into the defense forces, it's a large quantity and a huge amount of order, and therefore it's going to take time. And it takes time for the guns to be absorbed, adjusted according to the requirements of the terrain in particular sectors, and thereafter become employable in that excellent fashion so that their good and qualities are fully exploited in the terrain that they are supposed to function. From that perspective, I think we should continue to go ahead with the process of self-sufficiency and Make in India project rather than buying for the short term some guns which may prove to be far too expensive.
Okay. True, but when it comes to quality control, not just in the barrels, but in some questions, at times issues have been raised with the quality of the ammunition. Do some issues remain with quality control when it comes to ammunition? We've had reports of a barrel burst.
I would say when we develop guns, the requirement for the vendors will also be to look at the ammunition side. Yes, I tend to agree. There have been reports in the media about the quality being a little below par, but that's something which our own industry can look into and ensure that as we progress toward indigenization and Make in India, the quality of ammunition which is supplied to the defense forces also undergoes a change and an improvement for the better.
Sir, when you were Chief of Army Staff, I'd spoken to you and you'd mentioned the mounted gun systems you were very focused on as Chief. Also tell us about the work that's happening on enhancement of ranges. I believe with atags test, 45 kilometers to 48 kilometers has already been achieved. Future ranges, what are you looking at, sir? What's the artillery looking at?
All right, Gaurav. Firstly, the mounted gun system. I remember when I was a chief, I had gone to France and I looked at the French mounted gun system called the Nexter. And that is from where we started the process of looking at the mounted gun system for the Indian artillery so that the defense forces could remain modernized and be of use and relevance when a future conflict takes place. So the mounted gun system process has progressed thereafter. And I am hopeful in the next 2 to 3 years, the government would be looking seriously at developing the mounted gun system within the country. Even today, there are firms within the country like Bharat Forge, Tata are looking at the mounted gun system and they may produce a prototype somewhere in about 2 to 3 years' time for us to examine it, to try it on different terrains of the country, and thereafter introduce it within the armed forces. Of course, after introduction, it's going to take again some time for them to be able to supply the quantities needed, which may be anything in the range of 700 to 800 guns, which may be required. So that is as far as the mounted gun system is concerned. The aspect of range. You see, you would like to achieve as much of range as possible to affect the tactical battle zone in any encounter or any war which takes place. So the longer the range that the artillery guns can reach, the further away they will have to be deployed from the line of control stroke border to be able to inflict casualties on the enemy while remaining out of range of the adversary's guns.
Oh, absolutely. General Deepak Kapoor for joining me here on this Battle Cry special broadcast. As always, many thanks.